Procrastination is a superpower, but you need to understand how to use it. And I procrastinated on my behalf to put together the video you are watching right now. It's up to you to judge if the experiment paid off or not. So today I'm gonna break down exactly how these techniques works so you can use them and start getting things done, even if you don't want to. Because once you understand how they work, you can use them in everything you do. And no, these aren't just empty words. This is what's working for me right now. I'm using the same information to build this channel, even though I still have a full-time job. So I'm about to show you everything you need to take control of your life and start procrastinating like a pro. So I am late here. It's the 15th already, and to get this video out, I still needed to write a script, shoot, edit it, and the thing is, I want to publish it by Wednesday, day 22. So I've got just a week to get it all done. But you know what? That might actually be a good thing, because this first technique lets you wrap up pretty much anything in the few hours you have got available. To showcase this power, I'm gonna set a timer for 2 hours and write the script. When that timer's up, no matter what state it is, I will film it and edit it, even if it's not finished. Showing you this productivity method in action will let you judge if it's effective or not. Alright, let me break down how this works so you can use it to save hours of work. A while back, some guy came up with the idea that if you give yourself a long time to complete a task, you will end up taking all that time. But if you cut the time in half, you still manage to finish the same task. With less time, there's more urgency and it pushes you to focus only on the things that helps you to complete the task. Instead, if I gave myself 8 hours to write, I would probably end up just scrolling through Instagram, watching dog videos or staring at the magnificence of the ceiling. It is known as Parkinson's law and it's backed by science. So the next time you start a task, set yourself a time limit that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable and see what happens. Okay, I have finished my script. Sure, if I had more time, I might review it and try to tweak some points, but at least I have written and I can move to the next step, which is filming. A pretty fun part, but personally the most terrifying. You see, I'm a pretty shy type. I am definitely not the life of the party, and before I open up to a stranger, I have to go forward in time like Doctor Strange and evaluate the 14,605 alternative futures to assess the outcome of that interaction.
How many did we win? 1.
Standing in front of a camera, speaking a language that it isn't mine, it scares me. That is why using the Parkinson's law would only ramp up the anxiety and hinder me from getting the job done. I have to do exactly the opposite. Very often, fears influences our behavior. We are afraid of something that feels way bigger than us, and in that case, extending the time needed to complete the task can give us the right peace of mind to complete the task. Extending the time available to do things reduce pressures and might make us work slowly, but it also decreases anxiety and fear. If it takes me about an hour to film this video, I can try to set a timer for 2 hours. I can even make mistakes and do 2 or 3 takes. It's all about knowing yourself, or rather recognizing something else. Because if you are good at writing and you set a shorter timer, this will get you in a state of flow and you will work at your best. But if you have just started writing, anxiety will block you. You have to learn to recognize the balance between your abilities and the scope of the challenge. This is called the challenge skill balance. Procrastination is mainly due to 3 factors. The first is inertia, which means you have important things to do, you are paid to do them, you even set aside time to do them, but you still can't start. The second is distractibility, which means you have physically started the work, but the slightest distraction interrupts you. The third is chronic delay, which means you keep postponing big goals or life-changing projects, telling yourself you will do them someday, but you never get past the starting line. I'm a big victim of distractibility. Now, back to the video. I got distracted again just now. Tune the challenge skill balance is crucial. There are thousands of ways and techniques to increase productivity, but this is often considered one of the most important ones. So important that it's often taken for granted. This balance refers to the optimal relationship between the perceived level of challenge presented and your perception of the skill needed to complete the task. If the challenge is too high, you will be prone to anxiety. If the challenge is too low, you will be bored and more easily distracted. You need to aim for the sweet spot where the challenge slightly exceeds your perceived abilities. To adjust the challenge skill balance, there are 4 ways. When you go to the gym, clearly you don't start with the most difficult lift. You start with a light run, then specific exercises that prepares and awaken the muscle needed for the main movement. And only after about a half an hour you are ready for the maximum effort. And the same goes for work. If you sit down at the computer and you have to do something where the gap between the perceived challenge and your perceived skill is greater, just the idea of starting will give you anxiety and paralyze you. I used to do that too, until I had a revelation. I could use the same approach I use every time I go to the gym to make starting work a bit more manageable. Instead of diving straight into the most important task, I could start with some activities that feel familiar to me. This serves me as a reminder to reduce the challenge skill gap. This simply means lowering the initial hurdle, building awareness and momentum for the day. Once warmed up, you can move on to more challenging tasks. And it works because you will need to spend less energy. And if you trick your system into using fewer resources to do something, then the urge to procrastinate and fear diminish. And there is a truly brilliant way that allows you to lower the initial barriers so much that the task that causes you the most anxiety will feel like a walk in the park. Because no matter how hard you try, start with the most difficult tasks first is useless or even dangerous. You should restructure things to engage with less effort. For every task that seems daunting, identify a simple one that can ease you into it. Reading something before writing, reviewing what you have edited in the previous session if you are editing a video, calling one of your clients before trying to reach out to a potential buyer. Once you have identified the introductory task, commit to start with that and use it as a warm-up. Now, the next technique will totally change the way you think. Imagine being a soccer player, the star of the team, representing your nation at the World Cup. Your country's dream is to stand on the highest podium. Everyone is counting on you. The goal is clear, to win. But the path to get there is confusing, scary, too big for one person, too complicated if you see it from that perspective. To avoid getting overwhelmed, you start thinking about the final. To come first, you have to win the final. To reach the final, you have to win the matches. And to do that, you have to score as many goals as possible. And to score goals, you have to think about the next move. The point is clear. To win the World Cup, all you need to do is put your shirts, tie your shoes, and walk onto the field. You certainly don't need mental energy to tie your shoes. You need to set microscopic tasks so that your brain doesn't even have to think about what to do, because the activity is so easy that you can act automatically. Breaking down huge tasks will first give you a sense of control over what you're doing, and second, it allows you to overcome the initial inhibition, which is a huge problem. Now, to explain this, I need to give a brief introduction, but stay with me. A fundamental concept to understand is response inhibition. If it sounds too complicated, think about hiking with your friends. After a long walk, you found a lake to cool off in. Your friends jump in, but the water is freezing. As soon as your brain realizes that water might be cold, it starts creating a series of mechanisms that block your behavior and prevent you from getting into the water. The goal is to get into the water before your brain realizes that water might be cold. Inhibit the brain response and shift to a chosen behavior. So whatever you do, one secret to getting it done is to act right before your brain realizes it doesn't want to do something. This doesn't mean forcing yourself to stop procrastinating. There is a much more effective and gentle way to inhibit the response, and it all starts with one simple action. Understanding this will allow you to build around yourself a productive, easy environment where the activity you have set to do are almost automatic. I personally use it almost every day. You see, having a dog, every morning I get ready and after breakfast I go out for a walk. Once back home, I normally have work to do, but it can happen that I am tired or not in the mood, and it's easier to just plop down on the couch and laze around. But there is one thing I do every day that has literally changed my life. And thanks to this one thing, I come back and after 5 minutes I am already working. Before heading out, all I do is grab my computer, place it on the spot where I usually work, turn it on and set aside the headphones that I use every day. It's that simple, but it's powerful. Because once back home, my work setup is already there. All I have to do is sit down, put the headphones and start. As soon as I place my computer on the table, my workday begins. And by the time I return, I am already immersed in tasks. You need to do a bit of preparation work beforehand for this work, but it's highly effective and trains your brain to inhibit the response. And here we are, I've done it. So now it's up to you to judge whether this video, written, filmed and edited within a week, it's a flop or not. Am I happy? I have to say yes. But there is another problem. You see, by sharing this with you, I hope to help you and prevent you from getting stuck in the same spot I was in for months. The thing is, this is just a small part of the things that unstuck me. So you need to make sure that you implement this and a series of other things like time management, for example. But the good news is that in this video right here, I will teach you how to find the time you think you don't have and how to make every minute count.